Leo, let's get one thing clear right away. God is about to make you rich and no one saw it coming. Not your friends. Not your boss. Not even the version of you that's been playing small for far too long. But you felt it, didn't you? Somewhere deep in your chest a shift, a tension in the air, a kind of invisible countdown. You're not here by accident. You didn't land on this video because of an algorithm. This is not just another horoscope. This is your moment. And it has a pulse. You've carried the weight of being the strong one for longer than anyone knows. The one who lifts others up while quietly wondering when it's going to be your turn. The one who smiles in the spotlight while fighting battles in the dark. You've played the role with grace. But God didn't design you to be a performer. He designed you to be a vessel of fire, of vision, of divine impact. The truth is, the blessing that's coming isn't about income. It's about alignment. It's not about hustle. It's about heaven. And Leo, this is the kind of wealth that doesn't just fill your bank account, it fills your spirit. No more proving. No more pretending. No more dimming your light to make others comfortable. What's coming is not a reward for what you've done, but a recognition of who you are when no one is watching. Let's not sugarcoat it, you've been through some things. You've had to walk away from spaces that didn't value your truth. You've chosen integrity over instant gratification. You've stayed rooted in faith while watching others rise in flashier ways. That wasn't failure. That was preparation. That was God shaping the kind of foundation that doesn't crumble when favor finds it. And now, the floodgates are opening. Quietly. Powerfully. Unstoppably. This isn't about getting rich quick. This is about being ready when destiny shows up. This is about divine timing catching up to your endurance. And yes, it's going to feel strange at first when ease replaces striving, when provision comes without pressure, when doors open without you having to bang on them. But that's how you'll know it's real. That's how you'll know it's not performance, it's providence. This message isn't for everyone. But if it's for you, you already know it. You can feel it in your bones. Maybe you're shaking a little. Maybe you want to cry. That's okay. That's your soul remembering what it already knew. This isn't a coincidence. This is a calling. So if something in this message struck a chord, speak it aloud. Anchor it in. Say, I'm ready to receive what heaven has written for me. Then go one step further, leave a comment and let me know what brought you here today. I want to hear your truth. Share your story. Speak it into the world so it can return to you multiplied. And before we move on, let me say this from the bottom of my heart, thank you. For being here. For watching. For liking, subscribing, and supporting eternal mindfulness in ways that matter more than you know. Your presence is part of what allows messages like this to reach those who need it most. And trust me, you're going to want to stay until the very end. Because what heaven is about to unveil next is beyond what you ever imagined. Let's begin. Leo, if no one has ever told you this, let me be the first. Your light never stopped shining, people just weren't ready to see it. You've probably had seasons where your fire was mistaken for pride, where your boldness felt too loud for small minds, and your loyalty too fierce for those who never intended to stay. You've walked into rooms and dimmed your own brilliance just to make others comfortable. You've been told to be less, to wait your turn, to play it safe. But let me ask you something: when has a lion ever been designed to shrink in the presence of sheep? There's something sacred about the way you carry your pain, Leo. You've had nights where the world slept, and you stayed up staring at the ceiling, wondering if the fight was still worth it. You felt invisible in rooms where you once gave everything. And yet, here you are, still walking, still loving, still showing up with heart. That is no small thing. That is holy ground. In astrology, you are ruled by the sun, the center of the solar system, the life force itself. And yet even the sun, as powerful as it is, gets covered by clouds. That doesn't make it weak. It doesn't mean it stopped burning. It just means the world isn't always in the right condition to see the fire clearly. Leo, that's been you. You've been steady, radiant, full of life, but obscured by circumstances you didn't choose. It's not your fault. It's timing. There's an old principle in energy work: when you hold your vibration steady through darkness, you invite miracles. When others break and bend, you anchor deeper into who you are. And in doing that, by choosing truth over attention, stillness over performance, you've called something powerful toward you. This is the law of attraction working in ways most people never understand, not through forced affirmations or endless effort, but through alignment, through the quiet decision to stay soft in a world that begged you to go hard. You've probably had moments where silence was your only option, not because you didn't have something to say, but because your soul refused to participate in noise. That kind of restraint isn't weakness. That's wisdom. That's what happens when your inner compass is stronger than outside approval. And if you're still here, still feeling, still dreaming, then you've already done more than most. You've survived with your essence intact. Think of it like this: a flame, when protected, doesn't just stay lit, it grows. And your flame, Leo, has been protected not by walls, but by your own heart. You've known intuitively when to speak and when to wait. And now, the waiting is ending. There's a verse I come back to often, especially when working with people who feel forgotten in their quiet faithfulness: let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's not just scripture's rhythm. It's the timing of the cosmos. It's how Saturn builds character, and how the sun returns after eclipse. Your light wasn't denied. It was being refined. So here's the truth: you're not behind. You're not late. You're right on schedule. And the very fact that you're still standing after everything is not just proof of your strength, it's proof of your purpose. You are not just here to shine, you're here to guide. And the world is finally catching up to the light you've been holding this entire time. If you've ever chosen silence over compromise, if you've ever protected your peace over your pride, share that in the comments below. You never know who you'll inspire by simply being real. Let's be honest for a moment. There's a kind of wealth you can earn, and then there's a kind you can't explain. Most people spend their lives chasing the first kind: promotions, raises, praise, recognition. They calculate what they think they're worth, attach it to numbers on a check, and convince themselves that their value is equivalent to how hard they work. But what if that's only half the story? What if the deepest kind of wealth, the one that doesn't just change your wallet but transforms your reality, has nothing to do with effort and everything to do with energy? Leo, what's coming to you isn't a paycheck. It's not a bonus for staying late or saying the right things. What's coming is recognition, but not from the world, not from bosses or followers or algorithms. This is divine recognition. And that feels different. It moves differently. It lands differently. You're not being compensated. You're being confirmed. Validated by the frequency of who you are when no one's watching. In the language of tarot, this moment aligns with cards like the Starus sign of renewed hope, divine timing, spiritual healing, and the Hierophant, a messenger of higher truth and sacred contracts being honored. These archetypes don't show up when you're chasing temporary wins. They appear when your inner world has reached a level of integrity that allows divine favor to finally rest upon you. Energetically, this is a portal moment. You've stepped into a higher vibrational lane where what you attract has more to do with alignment than ambition. The truth is, when you're finally in tune with your own soul, not pretending, not performing, the universe mirrors that clarity back to you. And the blessings that come from that kind of alignment don't look like compensation. They look like inheritance. Think of the number 8. It's more than just a symbol of infinity or wealth. In numerology, 8 is the number of divine flow, off balance between the spiritual and material. It doesn't just bring money, it brings money with meaning. Money that heals, that multiplies, that builds legacy rather than debt. And when that energy combines with a number like 171 for new beginnings, 7 for spiritual perfection, you get a convergence, a moment where your soul's work meets physical reward. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Even color plays a role here. Royal gold doesn't just represent wealth, it carries solar energy, which is your birthright as a Leo. It's the frequency of boldness, generosity, and warm leadership. Purple, too, isn't just aesthetic. It's the vibration of inner sovereignty, of spiritual mastery paired with material elevation. When those colors start appearing in your space through clothing, symbols, dreams, or even random coincidences, it's not random. It's an echo of the frequency you're now aligned with. The challenge is, this kind of abundance can feel strange at first. Especially if you've spent your life equating value with exhaustion. But divine recognition doesn't arrive in a rush of noise. It flows in quietly like a sunrise you didn't know you needed. And when it does arrive, your job isn't to question it. It's to receive it without guilt. That's part of the healing. What you're stepping into isn't about hustle anymore. It's about honor. You're being honored, not hired. Elevated, not employed. And the shift you feel? That's not anxiety, it's your nervous system trying to adjust to peace. So take a breath. Let the weight lift. And if this message resonates with you in any way, take a moment and share it in the comments. Say, I receive this divine recognition, or just write down what you feel moving in you. Because sometimes, the act of naming your truth is all it takes to unlock the next level of your journey. You were never waiting. You were being prepared. It might have felt like a delay. Maybe even a detour. But what was actually happening was deeper than what the surface could ever show. Life wasn't withholding anything from you, it was arranging things behind the scenes. Quietly. Patiently. Purposefully. There's something sacred about that kind of pause, the kind that doesn't always make sense until the door finally opens and you realize it was never locked to begin with. It just wasn't time. Leo, I want to say something that might challenge how you've been conditioned to see your journey. You weren't overlooked. You weren't forgotten. You were hidden for safekeeping, not punishment. Think of it like the sun behind the clouds. Even when no one sees it, it's still burning just as bright. That's been you. Not invisible. Just waiting for the right atmosphere to reveal what was always there. In astrology, we talk a lot about timing. And this moment? It has the fingerprints of divine alignment all over it. The sun, your ruling force, shines differently when it aligns with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and wealth. When that happens, things move. Not because you forced them to, but because energy finally matches intention. That's what this season is about. Open doors. Unexpected turns. Quiet breakthroughs. Opportunities that show up before you even knock. You may start noticing the shift before you can explain it. A call out of nowhere. A conversation that opens something inside you. A moment that feels like déjà vu but carries new weight. These aren't random. They're confirmations. Proof that the work you've done in silence emotionally, spiritually, energetically is now echoing out into the world. But here's the part that matters most. You still have to say yes. You still have to show up when the invitation arrives. Sometimes the doors we've been praying for swing wide open, and we freeze not because we're ungrateful, but because the version of us that was waiting isn't always the version that feels ready to walk through. That's okay. Growth feels like discomfort before it feels like freedom. So here's what I want you to do. Start small. Begin your mornings with a single sentence. I'm ready to walk through the doors made for me. Say it like you mean it even if you're scared. Write it down if you need to. Let your body hear your voice claim what's already yours. And then, practice gratitude for what hasn't arrived yet. Because gratitude in advance is one of the most powerful signals you can send into the field. It tells the universe you believe before you see, which is the true language of abundance. I often tell people that energy responds to readiness. Not to desperation. Not to manipulation. But to quiet, unwavering belief. When you begin to believe that the life meant for you is already circling back, you behave differently. You don't beg. You align. You don't chase. You prepare. That's where you are now. And I know you may not feel fully ready. But readiness isn't about perfection. It's about posture. It's about standing in front of that open door even if your knees are shaking and saying yes anyway. Because this time, Leo, it's not just another opportunity. It's a portal. And no one saw it coming but you, deep down, always knew it was on its way. If that resonates with you, speak it into the comments. Say, I'm ready for my open door. Because when you name it, you claim it, and that's when the magic begins. There comes a moment often after you've tried everything, pushed every limit, held your breath through seasons that asked for your silence, when you realize that the next breakthrough won't come from doing more. It will come from being more of who you truly are. And Leo, this is that moment. You've spent so much of your life learning how to shine for others. You've worn confidence like armor, radiated strength when you were breaking inside, and led from the front because it felt like no one else could. But deep down, I know there's been a quiet exhaustion building, a sense that you've had to earn love, prove value, or maintain an image to stay relevant. The truth is, your soul is asking for something much softer now. Not a performance. A return. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen. Leo was born to be witnessed. But you were never meant to be consumed. The light you carry isn't conditional, and it doesn't require applause to remain powerful. In fact, some of the most transformative shifts happen when you stop projecting and start listening. When you stop chasing and start receiving. That's the frequency you're entering now. Emotionally, this is a season for untangling. Let the tears come when they need to. Let the anger surface without shame. Let the joy return in small, unexpected waves. You don't need to filter yourself anymore. Not in your relationships, not in your career, and certainly not in the way you relate to your own needs. Feelings aren't interruptions, they're invitations. And when you allow yourself to flow instead of fight, healing starts to happen on levels you can't always explain. In the realm of work, if the path ahead feels cloudy, don't panic. Sometimes when we can't see the road, it's because a new one is being paved under our feet. The universe has a way of withholding clarity when the old map no longer applies. Trust the pause. You're not lost, you're being redirected. Financially, this is the time to shift from striving to alignment. Money that comes from force rarely stays. But money that finds you while you're in tune with your values, that kind of abundance roots itself deeply. It's not about deserving more. It's about allowing more. You don't have to hustle harder. You just have to stop blocking what's already trying to reach you. Pay attention to the small ways life is trying to give to you: a refund, a gift, an unexpected opportunity. These are signs that receiving is a skill you're finally ready to learn. Your body, too, is speaking. The stress you've held, especially in the adrenal system, where survival energy builds up, deserves attention now. You don't need a complete overhaul. Start with small, consistent practices. Stretch in the morning sunlight. Drink warm water with lemon before coffee. Turn off your phone 15 minutes earlier at night. These micro-rituals aren't just physical, they're symbolic. They say, I'm worth caring for even when I'm not producing. In tarot, the Temperance card reminds us of this exact balance. Harmony over hustle. Flow over force. It asks you to trust the middle space, the in-between, where integration happens. This card is a quiet teacher, showing you that real power often looks like grace. That the most magnetic version of you isn't the one trying to be perfect, but the one at peace. So, if something in you has been whispering to slow down, to soften, to stop pushing so hard, listen to it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And if this resonates with you, say it out loud. Or write in the comments, I am choosing peace over pressure. Because the moment you stop trying to prove yourself and simply come home to who you are, the world starts meeting you there. And everything begins to shift. Sometimes abundance doesn't arrive as a gentle whisper. Sometimes it comes rushing in like a storm, full of force, undeniable, uncontainable, and yet, not meant to destroy, but to reposition. To take you from where you've been surviving and place you exactly where you were always meant to thrive. Leo, you've felt this building, haven't you? That edge of something energy. The sense that what's coming can't be controlled, only welcomed. And it's not chaos. It's alignment, just louder than you expected. You see, people may have looked at you and thought you were moving too slowly. That you missed your chance, your window, your moment. But those people didn't understand your blueprint. They didn't know you weren't waiting in fear, you were waiting on wind. Waiting for timing. Waiting for the kind of cosmic tailwind that lifts rather than drains. You weren't idle. You were aligned. And now, that gust is arriving. In astrology, when Venus, planet of love, money, and magnetic energy joins the Sun in Leo, it creates a stunning portal. One that brings both warmth and worth to the surface. This isn't just about relationships or finances. It's about value. Visibility. Radiance that doesn't require performance. Think of it like this. When two bright celestial bodies stand in the same sign, it amplifies the qualities that sign embodies. In Leo, that means boldness, leadership, and heart-led expression. It means your season of reward has arrived and it's showing up in layers, romantic openings, financial expansion, and public affirmation of things you've known privately for years. This isn't the kind of abundance you have to chase. It's the kind that finds you when your energy is clear and your self-worth is intact. But here's the tricky part: many people block what they ask for simply because it doesn't look the way they expected. It moves too fast. It shows up too suddenly. It feels like too much. But not you, Leo. You were built for more. You don't just survive the storm, you ride it. I want you to try something. Call it a practice, a ritual, a quiet agreement between you and the energy that's been circling. Take a piece of paper and write down 10 things, 10 gifts, shifts, or blessings you believe are already on their way to you within the next 30 days. Write them in present tense. Not, I hope, or maybe, but this is happening. Then place that list somewhere you'll see every day. Let it be your anchor when doubt tries to slip in. Let it be your agreement with what's already unfolding. Abundance doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to preparation. That list is your readiness speaking out loud. And while you're at it, start noticing what's already showing up. The person who reaches out at just the right moment. The opportunity you didn't apply for but got invited into. The inner calm that shows up where there used to be constant striving. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. You're not walking into the storm, Leo. You are the eye of it. Steady, centered, focused. Everything else is moving around you, not against you. Because this time, the storm isn't here to tear down. It's here to carry you forward. If you feel something building, something undeniable and bigger than anything you've called in before, speak it into the comments. Share what you sense is on its way. Declare it. Anchor it. Say, I feel the breakthrough coming. Because the more real you make it now, the faster it lands. And Leo, trust me, it's already moving in your direction. You've made it to the end, but this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a chapter where you no longer have to wait for permission, for approval, or for a perfect moment to begin living the life your soul has been quietly preparing for. The light that was once buried beneath clouds of doubt, delays, or detours is now rising to the surface, and Leo, this time, there's no turning it down. Everything you've just received isn't meant to be a prediction. It's an activation. A reminder that what's ahead isn't about becoming someone new, but returning to the power you've always carried. You don't need to hustle harder or prove more to be worthy of wealth, love, or peace. You only need to say yes to the version of you that already knows how to hold it all. This journey hasn't been easy. You've faced silence when you needed clarity, resistance when all you wanted was rest. You've watched others receive while you remained in the shadows. But shadows can't exist without light. And now, your light is no longer hidden, it's being funded by forces far greater than circumstance. That's what this moment is. That's what this video was here to remind you. Heaven has already said yes. So what will you do with this yes? What doors are you now ready to walk through? What versions of yourself are you ready to lay down, and which parts are you willing to reclaim? These aren't rhetorical questions. I want to hear from you. Not because engagement matters, but because your voice matters. Share in the comments, what resonated most? What action are you committing to today? And if something in your spirit shifted, even slightly, write it down. Say it out loud. Anchor it in. Type 888 if you're ready to step into the abundance that has already been circling your name. You don't need to earn what's coming. You only need to agree with it. And if this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love, because light travels further when it's passed on. One message can open 3 more hearts. One moment of clarity in your life might be the very mirror someone else needed to finally see themselves. I want to thank you, truly, for being here with me today. Every time you show up, whether with a like, a comment, or a quiet watch, you're saying yes to your own healing. And by supporting eternal mindfulness, you're helping this space reach others who are also looking for truth, for clarity, for that soft but undeniable nudge forward. That means more than you know. So breathe deep, Leo. Lift your head. Let the light touch your face again. You're not waiting anymore. The gates are already open. And you, just as you are finally free to walk through them.